Ladies and gentlemen, ETIG Knowledge Forum is a platform for industry professionals to express themselves, to share their knowledge, insight, expertise, and induce a higher level of creativity in the HR space. I sincerely thank ET for this marvelous creation. Manpower outsourcing, or temporary staffing as it is called conventionally, has grown in prominence in the last few years. As the manpower outsourcing space is growing, we are seeing that the Indian corporates are choosing more and more large and organized players who are staffing companies with pan-India presence over the unorganized local contractors. And this is because staffing service is no longer only about dispensing salaries, but it is about managing the employee experience for the entire life cycle of the employee, outsourced employee, that is from joining to exit. I'm sure the eminent speakers this evening will bring about a lot of perspectives and enlighten us with their thoughts, which will help us to gear up for the future. I would now like to request Mr. K. Varadan. He's going to talk on managing business risks through adherence of statutory framework and role of staffing companies to meet this important business metric.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As all of you may be aware, post-1990, that is post-liberalization, the business arena has totally changed. It's a question of survival for each and every company. So naturally, suppose if we run fast, we may have to scale a reasonable distance. But subsequent to this liberalization, we have to necessarily run fast, at least to remain in the same place. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. And when it comes to the question of competition, it's highly unconventional. So this is the given situation where companies have to survive. And of course, they have come up with a lot of varied strategies, and one such strategy is evolution of these staffing companies. The staffing companies, therefore, they have to ensure the payment of at least minimum wages and equal pay for equal work, and they have to run accurate payroll system and generation and distribution of wage slips. They have to facilitate opening of bank accounts and pay salary through an account pay check or direct transfer into their accounts, and also work towards harmonization of minimum rate of wages in central and state spheres. Of course, there are a lot of confusions when we look at from the statutory angle also. And staffing companies shall organize rewards and recognition of high-performing temporary workers in consultation with user companies. And finally, termination of services of temp staff people. Thank you. Once again, thanks a lot for the opportunity given. Yeah.
I would now like to invite Mr. Anirudh Mahajan to talk on managing exponential growth and changing employee expectations, preparing for future for the ever-growing e-commerce sector.
Wwatch has been growing at an exponential pace. I'm sure you have heard it's present across the country. We have now grown from 40 employees in 2013 to about 16,000 now. And my daily challenges are managing employee expectations and exponential growth. I need not reiterate how e-com industry has grown. And with it, it has brought about huge challenges of managing employee expectations. The Gen X has now started coming in, and we have started recruiting them in large numbers. So they want more. So while I joined new in Goja, I was wondering what could be the solution for them to attract. What is the solution for them to keep them engaged, and what could be the solution for them to retain them in the company. They say that I will not get directed. I will work without guidance. I'll learn on my own, and I will achieve on my own. They don't like bosses or overseers. They like to be coached. They like to be mentored. Do they want jobs? They come here for the experience because they value learning more than the job. One very unique thing which we do is we call up all our FEs every day. There is a call center which we have engaged. We try to cover all 16,000 employees in one quarter. So about 4,000 to 5,000 employees are reached out every month, and we take feedback from them on very simple things. Have you got your appointment letter? Have you got your ESIC card? Have you got your bank account? Do you have your manager's phone number? Does your manager do a one-on-one meeting with you every week? How frequently has your training happened? And small things like this. So what happens is we get a live feedback, and there is a happiness index that we maintain for employees, and they know that there is somebody caring for them. And that's what I think helps us to retain all our employees. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would now like to start the panel discussion, and let's welcome Paramita Chatterjee.
Welcome once again to all of you. Thanks for joining us for this special show on ET Now, where we are going to discuss the evolution of manpower outsourcing, preparing for the future, especially over the next 5 years. We're going to look at the year 2020 and of course beyond, and how this industry is shaping up, both for those who are hiring and of course for the employees themselves. Take us through really over the years and in the current context, when we talk about manpower outsourcing, who are we really referring to?
Okay. India culturally has been outsourcing manpower who are at the bottommost part of the pyramid. And whether sadly or fortunately, this set is the one who actually moves India, which forms more than about 95% of India's workforce. And today, a lot of this workforce, again 90% of this workforce is working through the unorganized sector channel, and only about 5% or 5 to 7% is working through the organized sector. So one of the challenges we are facing is to actually move this entire unorganized sector workforce into the organized sector, so thereby giving them wage security, giving them social security, and giving them employment security in the larger perspective, which is going to help India as a workforce generator.
Perhaps it's a misconception, but the perception is that it is companies who are perhaps furthering this trend of keeping a lot of players in the unorganized sector because it benefits them, since the game is, or rather the rules are to their advantage.
So at Exide Life Insurance, our total employee strength is about 6,000. Currently, we have about 150 people only whom we have who are on our outsourcing roles through organizations like Innova and others. Basically, for us, we only employ people through our outsourced partners, where we are looking at either processes which are new and which in the future either may move out to a B2B contract, or something which is in the beginning as far as staffing up is concerned.
Non-core operations, would that be correct?
Very, very small part of our non-core operations. So a large part of our operations is actually done by on-rolls employees.
And
so that's
what's the reason?
The reason why we do it is that we are not sure as to how much of this we will really require as far as the future needs are concerned. So if I want to start something which is immediate and I need it as of tomorrow, day after, I might start that off with using an outsourced partner to bring in the necessary qualified labor that I need for it. But it's not part of my overall HR strategy.
Cost arbitrage is not one of the main key factors. Take us through the evolution of your own company vis-a-vis the kind of changing profile you had of employees, especially in the outsourcing context.
At the current space that we are in, or the pace of growth that we are in, the advantages that we get by having agencies associated with us is much higher. We do not have the wherewithal to go recruit, source, or staff, and also meet a lot of requirements and compliances that is required.
Mayank, let me come to you. As you know, one of the key issues in this industry, and I'm just painting a broad brush here, is the problem of attrition and how quickly people leave their jobs and move on.
Yeah.
How are you addressing that as an employer?
The attrition is actually a two-way road. For me as an employee, I would need to know, with utmost certainty that the kind of people I'm hiring are sort of trustworthy, or are reliable, or would stay with us for a longer time, right? And for them, so what I'm trying to say is there is no infrastructure layer in which I would know that this is the kind of person I would sort of want to hire and retain for a longer period of time.
But when you hire through companies,
Yeah.
such as,
Yeah.
aren't they providing you that layer of
So
assurance?
it becomes very difficult when all the temp outsourcing companies are working in isolation. Let's say if I hire a developer or an IT graduate, I would know his sort of history of employment, that he worked with Flipkart, he worked with Snapdeal. I could sort of pick up the phone and talk for
Right.
get references
But there's
about
no such
them.
network
But there is
for
no
the
such network for the the unorganized sector or the
Right.
temp people. So I think there has to be a framework in which or a consortium of sorts in which all of these companies come together and form a database, just like a credit score for for getting credit card, right?
That's a relevant point, Reddy.
So
How would you like to address
there
that?
should be some sort of a trust score for these kind of people, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and that's one big challenge we are facing in the market today. But given the fact that the outsourcing as an industry has just penetrated 3% of what is possible, so there is a whole 97% working through the unorganized sector. Day by day, a lot of that part is coming in. So we are seeing a growth of about 30-40%, not because industry is growing at 30-40%, because a lot of these unorganized sector is migrating. So clearly there is no database, and it will take a long time before we are able to put some platform.
It is the unorganized layer which is creating a lot of the impediments, would you say, to growth, and hence perhaps do we need some sort of policy action? Is there enough of a policy framework, Praful?
I mean, there is a lot of laws around the whole thing, and many of those things are getting probably revisited now by the government, right? Have all of them kept pace with the development in life cycle of the companies?
Is one of the biggest impediments, for instance, termination, which is a huge issue when you have an employee on your rolls.
Sure.
If, for instance, that was relooked at, would that change the way you would address this problem?
I mean, would that mean that we would tomorrow stop outsourcing and have everybody on our roll? Probably no, right? Because there are several other factors which is the basis of our decision to go along with the third party to help us with. Yeah? Compliance is only one part of it. We very well know the cost associated with that is only X percentage of whatever we are actually paying them. Our cost actually increases once we outsource.
Right.
Considering the service taxes which is added.
Mirroring what Priya is saying, cost is not a factor.
Not at all a factor.
So to put it simply, it is the headache of managing all of the regulations, the laws, and so on and so forth.
There's also something called opportunity cost.
Right.
If you're doing all these things, what these guys are doing, you're actually moving slower, and you're sort of losing market share and whatnot.
Reddy, tell me, isn't this part of any new industry which is coming up? I mean, I remember in television, we would, all be jumping around doing this little merry-go-round, and then suddenly we found there weren't enough companies left to do the merry-go-round as the market matured, and then you're forced to stick to one place and then gain some wisdom. So isn't that, we're talking 5 years hence, isn't that what's going to happen?
Absolutely true. Like if you look at all the e-commerce as a word itself came hardly 3 years ago, and this year, at the beginning of 2015, we had estimates of close to about 40-45,000 requirement for bikers alone, right? We don't have that many bikers, right? So people who bought a bike costs today 70,000 to 80,000 rupees. A person who bought a bike is already in the salary category of 15,000 odd, right? So now we are expecting a guy who owns a bike to come and pick up a salary of 10,000 and do deliveries. So that's a new breed that we had to create. So one of the models we followed is we brought in the manufacturer of bikes, we brought in the financer of bikes, and we have companies who have demand, and then we are the outsourcing company. So 4 of us, we shared the down payment of the bike, and then created the biker.
You created the
so
bike.
The guy comes for an interview. We had the manufacturer and the financer sitting here. So it's like a virtual dealership that was operating for bikes, and we have a requirement here. And so they interview, select the guy, give the offer letter, and this guy clears the loan, and 4 of us together pay the down payment. We take 2,000 rupees from him just for commitment. So we create a biker.
Who is then there in the lion's share as far as the unorganized sector is concerned? One is there are just not enough skilled people. The other is a lot of these skilled guys or basic skilled guys, and here we're talking about 8, 10 standard pass, who are stuck in the unorganized sector and are not aware of or are not able to move across. So, you know, how would you analyze the situation right now? When you analyze the market, Priya, let me come to you.
So I think, you know, as I said, if you're looking at the unorganized sector, our biggest requirement right now, I would say from a, you know, from a workforce perspective, is to make sure we are able to get more people who are operating in the unorganized sector into the organized sector, because the benefits of, you know, regulations, the benefits of minimum wages, the benefits of, you know, some kind of social security, things like hospitalization.
So is the biggest impediment there the middleman, the guy who's making the cut?
Impediment there, there are 2, 3 things. One is regulation, clearly is a big impediment.
But regulations are always bypassed. We have enough regulations,
No,
other than on labor laws flexibility.
You know, so for example, you know, a lot of organizations will not want to, you know, operate in the grey zone unless there is clarity on the regulations.
Over the next 5 to 10 years, as the e-commerce industry matures, brick and mortar also has its different set of demands. What are the next big changes you anticipate?
Anticipate, I'm not very sure, but would want definitely is the Indian government should recognize staffing as a decent mode of, a decent channel of employment, which ultimately is going to provide, like I said, 3 things: employment security, wage security, and social security to our Indian workforce. Today, more than about 90 million who are working in the unsecured part of the employment will get secured. That is going to see a lot of future for them.
I think one of the advantages that organizations like the staffing organizations, because they have scale, they have a huge opportunity to be able to build a corridor for, you know, unskilled people to move into, you know, semi-skilled, skilled category. As a small organization or as one organization, I do not have the bandwidth, for example. I
So
may need
Priya
30
has
people.
thrown the ball back at you.
No, but that can happen only when they are clear and I am clear. So if I
But
know
who
that
will
I
bear
can
the
approach
cost
an
of that training? Is it my client who hires?
It will eventually be.
Ultimately, who is going to use the services?
Who is going to use the services?
Do you really want to upskill the guys who are delivering for you?
Right.
We are actually. So
if you educate them,
the fleet that we have has to perform a lot of value-added services rather than just the pick up and drop. So a person who joins our organization 1 or 2 months down the line is significantly more skilled than compared to a boy who is in any other fleet. So for us, problems like attrition become very critical because we have invested months into training that guy, developing those skills, and then if he leaves, I have to do that all over again.
Okay, yeah.
no, I was just at the same thing actually.
Okay, so
Just to add, you know, one of the things that we do see, I mean, we're not just talking about delivery riders here, but workforce, workforce, how it is evolving essentially because of the cultural shift that is happening. The number of years a person spends with the company is drastically coming down. Okay, and today, even if it is an IIT pass out, he's also looking at not spending the time there, but what is the role I'm going to get. Okay, so if I know that this company is there and it's going to develop this, and it's only a 9-month or a 12-month assignment, I'm happy with that, right? So which means that what we're talking about, a lot of jobs like it has been moved in the West, US, UK and all, would move into a contract basis. I'm hiring you for 12 months, okay, or let me hire you for 18 months to do this particular development and be done.
Sure, fair enough. Sure. Keep him on a contract, but what about the issues of, you know, employee security, providing some sort of a social security?
That's what I'm saying.
Who is going to give that?
The person, I mean, even an IIT, not the delivery rider, but even an IIT pass out, is okay with the fact that I'm more interested in what I'm working on, right? I'm more interested in the job that I'm
Especially when we said that these guys were just a pass out from 8th standard or 10th standard. And I mean, they're not going to think about PF, ESI. Most of them don't even claim all of that. And I think, as he had mentioned, that it's a cycle of 3-4 years post which they try to get into a more steady job.
Right.
So I mean, they don't even worry about it. We don't worry. They worry about what's there in hand.
So that's my whole point. They are not worrying about it now. They are young, you're young, and you know they're going with that flow. They're going with your psyche, but that psyche is bound to change. You are going to see a maturing of the market, and hence you are going to see different demands. How are you preparing for that?
Why does it have to be the companies, or let's say us, or manpower agencies worry about security? Why can't the individual themselves worry about their own security? If they're getting paid, at scale, why can't they sort of save and think about their own security? Why do we have to sort of create a different social security layer? And
so that is also going to happen.
No, there are two parts to it. I think the first thing is, let us recognize a large part of the unorganized sector is actually doing that. They are responsible for their own security. They may not plan as well as they should, but they are responsible for their own security. The other model is, bring it out into the open, make sure that the regulations are transparent so that there can be a genuine investment from organizations, whether it's the user organization or whether it's the manpower providing organization, to be able to invest in that. The idea is not to say that we want to shirk our responsibility. What we are saying is we need flexibility, we need transparency, right? That's the whole model that we need to think about.
Okay. Final comments. Praful, here's one statement that companies, and especially well-funded companies, would like the situation to remain status quo, essentially because it suits them. There is enough availability of people at that lower skill level to at the base level, entry level, to cater to their demands, and hence they would like things to be as they are in the next 5 to 10 years. Would you agree?
No, I would not agree. For us as between the three of us sitting here itself, we would have driven up the market rate for delivery riders in the market at least by 2,000 to 3,000 rupees. Right? So we are at a stage in which we are compliant with all kinds of minimum wages. We're way above what we pay in all is way above all kinds of compliance norms. This thing. So those kind of stuff in which the status quo remains the same and there is some advantage for the employer, all those things really does not apply to companies like ours in the space which are there. What we are actually looking for is, can there be a little bit more flexibility in the whole thing? Can the laws be relooked upon, which is happening, the government is looking at it. What would come out of those discussions is something which we are looking for.
Okay. Kshitij?
No, I definitely would like to see some more products or services and flexibility from the temp staffing companies. So, I mean, we as young companies are trying to innovate with our model to figure out what is the best way in which we can go ahead and work. So maybe someday if Mayank comes up to me and says that I need delivery boys for 4 hours, I need delivery boys for the other 4 hours in the day, we need support of temp staffing companies who can say that, hey, you know what, let them be on my payroll, I can employ them for 4 hours here, 4 hours there, 8 hours, he gets a full job, they monetize it. And things like these need to happen more. So I think
so
a lot
if policy enables it, you would like a further push on the on-demand availability manpower.
Even if the on-demand feature is not there, I don't know too much about these labor laws right now, but maybe the staffing companies can come up to us and they can be more flexible towards helping us do these kind of things.
You would like in the next 5-10 years the individual to be responsible?
Like I said, we as companies would definitely like to invest more in an employee if we know that there is a certain amount of certainty, because like I was talking about a trust score, right?
As he'll get to know you more.
Not that kind. Before hiring, if I know that he's actually trustworthy, if these guys actually have some products of kind that this is their employment status in the last 2-3 years, right? I would
keep a record?
Let's say, for example.
We do it for certain sectors, like we work with one of the largest Indian bank, which works in credit cards. So they have about 6 or 7 stringent checks, which includes the police verification as well as education, etc. Yeah. But that's one of the companies where we have the highest attrition among all our clients as well.
On that note, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you for joining us on this special discussion brought to you on ET Now.